going to be commissioned as Earthkeepers. And so we need to talk a little bit about what does that mean, right? We've been designing our projects this week, but what does it mean to be an Earthkeeper going forward from this place? So I have some answers to that question. So what I believe that you agreed to do in coming here and wanting to be an Earthkeeper was that you all committed that you could come here for training, and you also committed that you would work 10 hours a month on a project or a campaign that had something to do with linking your faith with care for God's creation, for environmental justice, for climate justice, however you frame that. We also said when we sent out materials that you would be part of a cohort and that you would be meeting quarterly with a cohort. So the cohorts, and we may need some, where's Pat?
Behind you. Men are supposed to be behind women.
Amen.
Heard it here.
Okay. So we had some thoughts about who would be in which cohort, and there may be a little bit of shifting around. We'll see how that works. And also with the international folks and stuff, I'm not exactly sure how that works out. But the cohorts are geographical cohorts. And the reason for that is simply practical. It's easier to meet with people who are nearby. So if you're going to be meeting quarterly, we're looking for people that are within 2.5 hours of each other, so that you can get to meet one another. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit is what we're expecting of cohorts.
Love your intro.
Remember that when you're in your cohort. Hopefully we're not enemies, but we may have disagreements. So, why a cohort? What is the purpose of a cohort? Anybody what are your thoughts on that? Support.
Encouragement.
Support and encouragement.
Accountability.
What a good question. Accountability.
And also networking. Networking.
Networking.
So, ideas and advice.
Ideas and advice.
You might do some cooperative efforts.
Yes, you might decide there are some things that you can do together besides your own individual projects. There might be some cooperative activities or actions. Anything missing from this?
Learning.
Learning?
Yeah.
Sure.
Bless you.
I think one more thing that we could put on here that I'm hoping for is recruitment.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
I met with Bishop O, who's the Bishop of the Minnesota and Dakota's annual conferences, and with the cabinet of the Minnesota annual conference. They asked me to come and talk about Earthkeepers to them, and this was probably 6 months ago. And I came and described this to them, and Bishop O was so taken with this movement that we're creating. He loved the idea that it's a movement and we're not creating another hierarchy in the church. That he said there's no reason there couldn't be 500 Earthkeepers in Minnesota.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so think about that. We have this goal of 500 Earthkeeper you about being an Earthkeeper and they're interested in being an Earthkeeper, I think as a cohort, we need to think about how we can begin to integrate other people into our work. And that I'm not sure what the right answer to that is. And so different cohorts may want to do this differently. In Minnesota, I've been getting requests from people who want to be an Earthkeeper. They've missed this training. And I have been telling them, if you want to be an Earthkeeper and you want to commit to this work, just like we are, you can come, you'll be part of our cohort, and then when there's a training you can go to, you go to that training. But we'll take you in even before you go to the training. I've also thought about whether we invite other people to come to our meetings that aren't Earthkeepers, but are just interested parties. And I'm not sure. There might be parts of the meeting that would be best to be kept just for the people who are covenanted. We're covenanting with one another to do this. And there might be other parts of meetings or other meetings where we invite a wider group in. So that's something that you'll want to think about as a cohort, how you want to handle the interest of other people and how you want to recruit other people and bring them in. So that's food for thought.
Susan?
Yes.
Well, hearing you say that makes me think that, because it might be helpful for our cohorts at some point to invite clergy, right, so the laity who are in a church, their clergy, and the clergy also their district superintendent to come in for some of that, either the Earthkeeper training or some of our cohort meetings, so that there's some support from the institution and perhaps, wacky thought, some consideration in appointment making of these calls and ministry. One of the district superintendents in the Baltimore Washington Conference actually applied to be an Earthkeeper, which is my DS, but then at the last minute was not able to come. And at first I was like, oh, I don't want to spend a week with my DS. But then I thought, oh, I want to spend a week with my DS, and I want her to see what I feel called to do, so that when I get appointed, right?
Right. Good. So there are some, we're about transforming the world, but also the church.
Yes.
And so part of this work is that transformation of the church. Okay. And what I want to say too is that each cohort is going to have a lot of flexibility in how you do these things. Right? So you might want to think about how you're going to structure meetings. How long will your meetings be? What are you going to try to accomplish in a meeting? Do you want to have, well, you know what, here, we don't even have pray for each other on here. What happens?
Yes, you didn't put in well, support. That's true.
Okay. So, you know, you might want to develop a structure for your meeting so that you know each time you're going to start in prayer, you're going to do some sharing about what's, you know, accountability, what have you been doing since the last meeting. You might want to do like a case study. You might have one person each time that you go into more depth on what's happening in their project, and they can talk about areas where they're coming up against a roadblock of some kind, and then you can brainstorm together like what might be ways to proceed forward. I don't know, just ideas.
Yeah.
You might want to invite someone into your group to do some continuing education. Maybe there's a local person. Yes?
I just want to share one of our practice nowadays in like our early 96. We invite the small group ministries. If we consider that after the prayer for each other, we can have this in a 1 hour meeting for small group. So in this church, this is maybe churchy, but we can expand, we can capitalize our system, our structure. So the topic that we are going to discuss in the school group ministries will be super important, organizing. So that's our, activities in our small groups. So maybe we could do that as we we enter into the structure of the church so that we can expand our, people how they say faster.
Right, so this could become,
That's just like that.
like, this is a small group ministry
Right.
model. And
Then
it
I'll
fits into, yeah, a model that you're already using.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with Minnesota, we're looking at, we had a group called Hopeful Earth, which was a group that we convened to do things in our annual conference. And we're feeling like it's many of the same people, are Earth Keepers and part of Hopeful Earth, and we're feeling like it's too much to try and keep two things floating, so they'll become one.
So be hopeful Earth Keepers.
That's exactly
As opposed to despairing Earth Keepers.
So,
Did he say this may be churchy?
Yes.
Well, can I tell you an experience I had, I think it was 10 years ago, remember the Al Gore movie?
Yeah.
Well, I was with United Methodist Women's Green Team at this time, and so I was showing this movie for free at our church, which is a very large building. And then I just happened to add on there may be a prayer before the movie. Well, I had a whole bunch of people said they were not going to come. Because we have a whole bunch of church haters in Duluth. We have a bunch of Native Americans who've been hurt by the church. We have a bunch of ex-Catholics who've been hurt by the church. And we've got a bunch of people that just hate the church. And I thought, if you can't even come to a church and know that there's a possibility that there might be a prayer, I think maybe you got a real problem. And yes, they do have a real problem. But it's like, how do I reach these people?
well, at the moment, we're just talking about within our
Within
Earth Keepers
our
group,
own
so
group.
hopefully that won't be a problem.
Yeah, hopefully none of you will like have a fit when I decide to have a prayer for you. Don't you dare pray for me.
That's where the loving the enemies comes in.
I'm scared of what you might pray for me. It might be something I don't want.
All right, Tina has a question. Karen, oh, sorry, Karen.
This may be a stupid question, but, so, a cohort is like the people that we're gonna meet in the North Georgia area? Is that what you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yes.
It'll be you.
Yes, and we are going to divide up into cohorts and give you some time to work through this. So I just want to list the things I want you to do as a cohort. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take out your calendars and find a date for your first meeting.
Oh, when we're together.
But how do we know what group we're in?
You're in Minnesota.
When you're in your group, the first thing you're going to do is pick a date.
In November, December?
That's what you're going to talk about. Pick it out and show what you're going to decide.
I'm thinking, we're asking for quarterly meetings. So I'm thinking, this is a meeting for the fall quarter. So I'm thinking kind of in the January, February timeframe would be great, but it's your cohort. So if you want to do one sooner, that's fine, but I would say not any later than February. Let's see, what else I want to do. I want you to identify a convener for that first meeting. Okay, who's going to be the point person who's going to contact all of you, who's going to remind you of the meeting, of the details of the time, anything you need to bring, that sort of thing. Where are you going to meet? I want you to exchange contact information, make a list. I want you to take your picture. So somebody get out your cell phone, take a picture of your cohort.
Well, we should have more than one, shouldn't we?
A group.
A group picture.
Cohort. That's a group.
I thought cohort was a
Group.
And to the extent you have time to do that, I would like you to talk about the content of that first meeting. What are you going to do at your first meeting? You know, those are going to talk about. All right.
Susan, question.
Yes.
last night you told us, you know, to gussy up so that we get our mug shots and whatever. Are we still doing that so we'll get that
Yes.
for everybody?
Yes.
When are mugshots happening?
At the end of this session before lunch.
So we will do that.
I didn't get clarification.
Right, yeah, we're still working on that.
I have a question,
Yes.
because I definitely want to do my cohort, but I also spend a lot of time, or Martha is. Sneaking on somebody else's cohort, not stay with your own, but could you join another one's meeting in addition to?
I think that's up to you. I'm not going to regulate how you do that. So yeah, I mean, if it makes sense for both in more than one, I say that's fine. As long as you're at least participating.
Talk about how the cohorts connect. Will there be space to talk about how the cohorts connect? How will there be conversation or sharing? How will there be conversation
Between cohorts.
between cohorts or
Okay,
some kind of
so
steering?
one of our hopes is that all Earthkeepers will make an effort to come to the annual Creation Care conferences. So there's one in, and this is probably not true for, I mean, all of you international folks are welcome to come, don't get me wrong, but I understand that would be a big expense. So for the US folks, the hope is that at every Creation Care conference going forward, there will be a time for Earthkeepers to gather, probably a day ahead of the conference. And we haven't clarified whether that's going to happen this year or not, but I could if we wanted to.
It'll happen.
We can easily accommodate it.
There's space for it.
There's space for it. So we should just plan on, what is it, the Thursday then?
Thursday the 28th.
Thursday the 28th, that we would meet as Earthkeepers.
But I thought you talked about this Sunday afterwards, that you all get together to talk about.
Yeah, we could do it then, but that's typically oriented toward planning the next.
The next annual conference,
Yeah,
or
you know,
the
so
next Creation
I
Care
think-
conference, not talking about the Earthkeepers movement itself. Kathleen?
Well, the Cornerstone Learning Management System is also another way where you all can connect.
Correction, it's the 27th. I
Okay.
apologize.
So that's still emerging as a process, but we will be able to store resources on there that you can access, and that's international. So hopefully you'll be able to stay in communication with each other and perhaps create cohorts through that as well.
And I think we're going to have a discussion about Earthkeepers later, sort of the discussion about the future of Earthkeepers, and there's some interest in the room about talking about perhaps a steering committee for Earthkeepers in this moment when we're a little uncertain about exactly how this is going forward. So let's have that discussion when we do that, because we are going to want to keep in contact with one another, just more than just our cohorts. But for now, I want us to split into cohorts, and so Pat, you can help me out here in terms of what cohorts we have. We have, is it a West Ohio or all Ohio cohort?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me get my computer. I'll
So-
look at the sheet.
So we're gonna have, we have a North Georgia, we have a, what do we have in Tennessee?
I don't know if we've determined how we're going to divide Tennessee. We have folks from all over Tennessee, which means we're all within 3 hours of Nashville, but we'll just have to figure that out.
Okay, so what I'm gonna say is don't move at this moment.
4 hours.
Don't move yet, but I'm gonna start telling you where you're gonna need to go. So if you're from Ohio, you're gonna be with Bob, wherever he chooses to go, Bob Jones. And then if you're in Tennessee, you're gonna go with Dan, wherever he is. North Georgia, who's somebody from North Georgia? Beth. Okay, so Beth, you're gonna be the North Georgia folks. What about North Carolina? How many we got from North Carolina? 3 of you. Okay, so Jonathan, you're North Carolina. We have some Northern Illinois. How many from Northern Illinois? Seminary students include where you are now. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's say Harriet, you're Northern Illinois. So just a word about seminary students. We know you're going to be moving. So we're just going to put you where you are right now. And when you move to the cohort where you're at. And if there's no cohort there, you're gonna help make one. Okay, who am I missing?
DC, Virginia, Baltimore.
Yeah, Minnesota. Kathy's Minnesota. Okay. Are we doing Baltimore, Washington all together?
Virginia.
I think we're doing Baltimore, Washington, and Northern Virginia together.
Okay. So who all's in that?
Martha Lyle and Mike.
Okay, Martha
Guido.
Lyle, you can be Baltimore, Washington, Northern Virginia. Karen, are you on your own? Is there anyone else from New York?
Right now, but that's okay. I'll hook up with the Northeasterners right now.
Okay, perfect.
Corey Douglas is Wisconsin, but I don't think there's anybody else.
Yeah, I think I'm the only
He's a
one.
seminarian already.
How far are you?
Right
Yeah,
now,
you're a seminary. Where
yeah, right now I'm in Evanston, but so it's convenient.
So hang with the.
So he's with Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be with Illinois, you're not gonna be in Wisconsin.
You want a list of who's in each cohort, from each cohort?
Can we just cluster briefly so we see if anyone's not?
We've left out the international folks so far. So,
Can we be a cohort?
But we also
I think
I think you have a plan.
we also have a plan.
I think it makes sense for the.
So we have the West Africa region, so Nigeria and Liberia, that's just 2 hours flight, 1 day.
Okay.
So the idea is that, and then we'll have the Southern African region. So Tanzania and
And those?
the South Africa,
Okay,
so they can connect.
okay.
But I think electronically, the
Yes.
global team needs
Yes.
to be one cohort.
Yeah.
Yes.
And probably to include the scholars, don't I think? So I think electronically, the global team and the scholars should be one cohort. And then within that cohort, if you want to subdivide into regions,
Yeah.
because you do have some Africa folk that maybe could do that. But I think the bigger cohort should be the international folks.
Okay, so the international folks are going to be with Israel. Okay, go with him. So what I want you to do, and for the international folks, your meeting may not be a face-to-face meeting. It may be somehow connecting online, right? But let's go through this. Find a date for your meeting, identify the convener of the meeting, exchange your contact information, take a photo, and talk about what you're going to do at that first meeting.
And then we need to come back here.
You need to be back here by 5 minutes to 12. So you only have 20 minutes for this, barely 20 minutes.
So where are
What about DC, Virginia, Maryland over here?
There should be 3.
Minnesota right here.
Good, the Northeast first.
There you
That's okay. It'll be fine. I mean, if you'd rather be with us, but then it maybe
Used to
fly with us. So just go ahead and do that. Yeah.
Thing is, both of us went, so then
Okay, well, we'll let you know when we're meeting, and if you're there, we'll keep you in contact. That sounds perfect.
Your last name? They're studying here right now, so. Hope is kind of Minnesota, but.
We're gonna go there.
All right. Stand, you have to come back. Okay, that's all right.
Okay. I'll go and shake it this side.
You have to
Okay,
come
go.
up with a good basket.
That's all I wanted.
I think David had originally are from the study.
There were 10.
I've got a database, I got tons of people.
Late, I mean, I would think mid to late January or early February.
Yeah, okay.
What?
Okay, so here's what we
And
got.
I'm sure I'm way more flexible.
Any ideas on dates? Well, can we come up with maybe?
The last week of January and the first 2 weeks of February are really tough for me. So,
Shall we do the third week of
January.
January.
which would be the week of the 16th? January 16th is MLK Day, and Friday the 20th.